Have you ever felt like there's more going on in the world than what we see on the surface? Today, we're diving into a viral monologue that lays out a completely different reality. It's a story about a global liberation supposedly led by Donald Trump, all leading to a massive prophecy for the year 2026. Now, we're not here to say if it's true or not, we're just here to understand it. Let's get into it.
Right off the bat, the whole thing is built on this one incredibly powerful idea. The source isn't just talking about politics or elections, no. They're framing everything that's happening right now as the literal liberation of the human race. I mean, that sets the stage for a story of epic, almost biblical proportions, right? So here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll look at the core idea of a world being set free. Then we've got to identify the so-called satanic elites it's being freed from. After that, we'll run through the specific wins credited to Trump, the predicted collapse of major world organizations, and finally, we'll get to the 2026 vision itself. Okay, let's start with that foundational claim. According to this worldview, what we're all living through isn't just business as usual. It's a massive worldwide transformation. And apparently, there's one key person at the very center of it all. So in this story, Trump isn't really a politician in the traditional sense. He's painted as the leader of a kind of spiritual crusade. The claim is that he's on this global mission to root out evil, dismantle a vast satanic network, and bring Christian values back to the forefront of society. You know, every story about liberation needs a villain. It has to. So if humanity is being freed, you have to ask, who were the captors? And that brings us to the antagonists of this story, the satanic elites. The source paints this really stark black and white picture of the world. On one side, you have the forces of liberation, the good guys, and on the other, you have this powerful, shadowy network of satanic elites who are supposedly controlling everything from behind the scenes. And this isn't vague either. The source actually names names. This group, described as the Nightmare of Trump, allegedly includes financial dynasties like the Rothschilds, huge global institutions like the UN and the EU, and even famous people like Bill Gates. It's a pretty wide-ranging list. So with the heroes and villains clearly defined, the narrative moves on to the action. The source lays out a whole series of specific victories that it claims Trump has already achieved in his fight against this global elite. The first big reported win is all about money. The source alleges that Trump is in the process of dismantling what it calls the financial imperium of the Rothschilds. And the goal? To build a brand new system that gives wealth back to the people. Next up, a war on global crime. The source claims Trump has shut down major drug trafficking operations, pointing to one in Venezuela specifically, and in doing so, he's saving countless millions of lives. You'll notice the scale of these claimed victories is just consistently massive. Then, the battlefield shifts from the physical world to the world of information. The source says Trump is putting an end to online censorship, and they even offer a personal story as proof, saying their own Facebook reach has exploded and that tens of thousands of YouTube accounts have been restored. The story continues, with claims about reversing what are seen as major tools of control. The source is very direct here. They say Trump has already stopped vaccine mandates and has completely derailed the global agenda, known as the Great Reset. And here's where the claims get incredibly specific. The source asserts that Trump personally orchestrated a public admission from Bill Gates, who they call a main asset of the satanic elites, that climate change is a hoax. And in this story, that one move was basically game over for the whole climate agenda. So once you have all these individual victories, the narrative zooms out to the next logical step, the total collapse of the big global institutions that these elites supposedly control. Yeah, the language used here is, well, it's very colorful and confrontational. This quote really captures the aggressive stance the source claims Trump took with the UN. It paints a picture of a total power shift. And right after that supposed confrontation, the source declares that the end is near for these three major global bodies. It's not presented as a possibility, but as an imminent, absolute certainty that's happening because of Trump's actions. The vision for Europe is equally dramatic. The plan, according to the source, is to save the entire continent by abolishing the EU. And then there's this surprising twist, an alleged alliance with Russia, with a special envoy providing support to American patriots for the mission. Okay, so all of these different threads, the wins, the collapsing institutions, they all come together and point to the final climactic prophecy, a detailed vision of what the world will be like in 2026,
once all these battles have supposedly been won.
So if you tear down all the old systems, what replaces them? What does this phenomenal future, as the source calls it, actually look like? This slide really lays out the stark contrast. On one side, you have what the source calls the era of darkness, defined by things like mind control and tyranny. And on the other, a beautiful future where freedom is restored, truth is back, wealth is returned to the people, and even Christ is returned to society.
The source pretty much lays it out like a domino effect. Liberating Europe, getting rid of the EU and the UN, those aren't the end goals. They're just the steps you have to take to get to the ultimate prize, the total and complete liberation of all humanity. And this is the final message. It's a call to action, really, a call to reject out and just believe in this vision. It's a message of absolute certainty and hope, promising a future that's going to be, in their words, nothing short of phenomenal.
And so we've reached the end of this particular prophecy. It's a narrative of absolute conflict leading to an absolute victory, a world saved from darkness and promised a perfect future. The question it really leaves us with isn't whether any of it is true, but what the appeal of such a powerful, all-encompassing vision reveals about our own collective search for hope in a very complex world.